My life matters.
We always talk about white people killing black people, but we don't talk enough about black on black crime. We kill each other.
My life matters.
Kansas City is different.
Stuff can happen at a moment.
My life matters.
Say for instance, somebody made me mad, I do the first thing that comes to my mind.
My life matters.
We just go and just retaliate now or just get revenge on anything.
My life matters.
I mean, we've got about 170 homicides already in the city this year.
My life matters.
I saw the news, and an 11-year-old girl was shot and killed, and that's all I saw.
What's good? What's good, everybody? I'm Gary B. Jr. and we are live. It's time to get started with Free Show Friday. Looking forward to today. It's going to be a fun day. Hopefully, you guys have had a great week and looking forward to a great weekend. We got Brian in. Man, I'm sorry, Brian. I see you said you were a Lions fan. I did do something to improve the music. I adjusted the levels. I think last time you or someone else mentioned that we had to do some adjusting because the music was a little too loud or just off. So I've been playing with it and trying to get it just right to where it makes more sense from a live stream standpoint. So hopefully that's better. I love to hear that. But yeah, I'm from Kansas City, so I don't know if you know what that means or not, but I'm a fan of the Kansas City Chiefs kingdom, and looking forward to another good year. I know last year didn't end so well, but this year will be even better. So we're looking forward to that. For those who are on, let me know where you're from. And if you are a fan of American football, feel free to tell me your favorite team as football season is beginning. We're going to jump into Free Show Friday as normal. Feel free to leave your questions anytime in the chat. And during that time or during this conversation, I'll do my best to check in and answer those questions real time. And in the meantime, let's see here. Today's topic, I sent an email out to my mail list. Today is all about Q&A and giveaway. All right, so it's giveaway Friday. My goal is going to be the last Friday of each month, at least starting out. I would love to give something away every week, but I've got a partnership with an organization or company called YoloCast, where they were so gracious to give me an opportunity to raffle off 6 1-year subscriptions to their service. And so the first thing I'm going to do, or not the first thing, but the first month of this is today, right? It's the last month of August, and then we'll do this again in a month in September. But this month is going to be those who are part of my mailing list and have actually opened an email. That open the email thing is pretty important because a lot of people may subscribe, but they don't open the email. So I can't really rely on sending you a message to say, hey, you won. So if you've ever opened one of my emails, you're part of the mailing list, and you will be in the raffle today. I already pulled the names right there in the raffle. So if you try to sign up to my mailing list right now, it won't work, but you can be ready for next month, whatever that reason or the raffle will be then. So feel free to jump in. And my question is, has anybody heard of YoloCast? I know I made a video about it this week. I know I've not really talked about it too much. I'm trying to think about, I bought a YOLO box a while back, so I'm familiar with it a little bit, but not too much in terms of using it on a long-term basis until they reached out to me maybe a month and a half or 2 months ago. We've been working on this for a little while. Let's see here. Big L S305 says, good morning, Gary. It's Big L from Louisville, Kentucky. Now, what's going on, Big L S305? Is it pronounced Louisville or Louisville? Because it looks like Louisville, but I've always heard it called Louisville, so I just call it Louisville. And you're an Atlanta Falcons fan. Hey, I can't fault you for that because that's the area that I live in now. I'm not bought in yet. Like I said, I haven't been here for a full season. I was here a little bit last year. I wasn't impressed, but I'm closer to the vicinity of Atlanta, so I will say that I will be interested in seeing and hearing about them. Sibusiso Radibi, what's going on, my friend from South Africa? Welcome to the show. Welcome to the party. We're talking about Free Show today. So this is Free Show Friday as usual. We're definitely going to talk about it. Let me do a quick recap of what came out just in the past few weeks, or few days, I should say, in terms of this week. It's only been one video officially. Let me see here. Let's switch it out. And so I tried to get creative, you guys, and put myself in a deep diving suit. So hopefully you can appreciate that. 8 days ago, we came out with this. So this must have been, I guess, Thursday last week. I don't know if I probably talked about it last week, but the deep dive into templates, that's been a really popular video for people to understand templates in a number of different ways, right? I talk about 3 different ways you can create a template and manipulate them and manage them and things like that, especially with the new 1.4.9 update. I think I was in the beta when that video was created, and all those things apply. And that's the latest and greatest about templates, which is really important. And then this next one about live streaming. Now, this is something that is going to be a very niche audience because everybody doesn't live stream with FreeShow to date, right? So some of you all are using it internally for your service, and that's it. Okay, so it's Louisville, he says. No, dang. Okay, yeah, Louis. There we go. I like that. Thank you for the I don't know what that's called, but the enunciation of it is very clear. I like that. Louisville. It looks like it's Louisville. I like that. I like that. So the idea is if you do live stream, YoloCast would be something that you would be interested in for a number of reasons, right? So a lot of ministries will live stream to Facebook, a lot of them will live stream to YouTube, and some combination of those. Some may live stream to both. What YoloCast that I like about it is it allows you to do both of those. Plus, if you have a ministry website, you can live stream it directly to your website. So you can point people to your website and not to a separate social media platform. And those that are getting streamed to the social media platform are for those that are there. But for those who are part of the fellowship already, you can just have them go directly to your website, and there they can actually also click a button that allows them to make their donation, their give their tithe, their offering, or whatever the process is in your ministry, directly from the actual video. There's a actual button you can put at the bottom of your video on your website once it's embedded, which I love for any organization, right? Whether you're a ministry or just a nonprofit in general, and you want to do live streaming, YoloCast is a really cool way to do that at a high level. And have that feature is something that you won't find with any other platform. So I like that about it. That's one of the things that really stands out. It does a lot of different things for me, and you guys know me and my heart with FreeShow is that I love to use my actions. I love to use my templates. I love to use my overlays in FreeShow because I like to use it with my companion app and my tablet, like you guys see here. And so right now we're doing our review, and I've got my overlay that's coming from FreeShow. You could create something like this in YoloCast. I've not played with it enough to say how convenient it is in comparison, only because I would be biased because I use FreeShow so much. But I did deep dive into how to use their overlays and set up timers and things like that. And they give you quite a bit of detail that you can manage those things down to. Okay, so you can do a lot with it, and it's just a little bit of a learning curve. So if you do win the raffle that we'll do later on, make sure that you check out this video on live streaming with YoloCast. And I think any ministry would benefit from it, especially if you have a website. But if you don't have a website, it still allows you to send out your signal to multiple platforms and rebroadcast, right? So you can actually rebroadcast your Sunday service, Saturday service, Wednesday night service, whatever it is, anytime you want to, right? Or any other video that you want. You can upload that and make it be like it's a live stream and have that available in those platforms. Facebook and YouTube will read it as a live stream. Your website, it'll read it as a live stream. Oh, Louisville. Oh, now we're getting serious. Sorry. Okay. Big LS305 says Louisville. That's how it's pronounced. All right. TLTK, hello. How you doing, my friend? Remind us where you're from. Remind us where you're from in the chat, please. I know the face. I know the names. I wish I could see you guys' faces, but I know the names. So I'm familiar with the names. Good to see you joining us today. So that's pretty much all that came out today. This was a pretty long video. It took a lot in the making, so I didn't do much else, but I did work on something that we'll get into today that I was debating on whether or not to release it as a video or do it in FreeShow Friday or both. And so we'll see. All right, we'll see. Mobile, Alabama. I've been through Alabama for the first time this year. So last month in July, I drove through Alabama and Mississippi to get to Louisiana. Monroe, Louisiana is where I went. All right, let's see here. Watch the game show. It was informative and entertaining. I love it. Yeah, it was. So there was a couple of them. So I did one last week and then one the week before. This was the latest one with some of the suggestions that you guys gave me real time, right? Like in our FreeShow Friday before or after this one, which was 2 weeks ago. And so this is my first shot at it. And then this was the advanced version of it to where I was using a later version of FreeShow and had another idea where you can kind of exit out or, kind of make some connotations and still keep the answers visible. Because for me, when I think about any type of especially a Bible quiz, you want people to be familiar with the scriptures, and the longer you can keep the answers up, the better. I think someone on the chat in the live feed in Free Show Friday last week or the week before maybe mentioned making the answers go away and then it just be one remaining. And I love that idea, but as a trainer, I would rather it be that they all stay there, but we just X them out, right? And so that's what that one's about. And this is another take on that same idea. So I was just biting off the idea that you guys gave, which was great. Thanks for watching that one, Brian. Hopefully it's something you can use in your ministry, in your family, or in your organization in a way that's kind of fun, right? So it's just opening our eyes to some new ways to look at how we can utilize and make the most of this unbelievable program. So I'm excited about that. Let's see here. Review wise, I don't think there's not been any new betas, but you can always go if you have not yet. I have found the latest version of Free Show. If I go over here to downloads, it should be 1.4.9, which it is. This latest version has been stable for me. The one thing I did notice though was it takes it some time for it to kind of, once I log in and select my profile, right? So if you've gotten, I think 148 and later, you'll get that profile option. So you can log in. It'll ask you if you've got one created. I've got a profile that's called admin, and I've got another one that's called guest or volunteer or something like that I was using for training. And when I open up Free Show, it asks me to pick which one of those, and then it says I'll select the admin, and it'll say, "Are you sure?" And I'll say yes. After that, there seems to be a few minutes delay of the functionality because I've got it set to backup, I believe, on login, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see here. And then I also have it synced up with Chums, right? I set up a Chums account, working on some stuff with that. But if I go to, let's see here, I'm looking to see if I can see what I've got set up that it's doing, because I think it's backing up. That's outputs, styles, connections, files, profile, auto updates, enable. I can't remember what I did to the way it's set up. Here we go. So I got it to auto save every 15 minutes and then auto backup daily as well. And I think the last time I opened it, it auto backed up. Maybe not. But it takes some time, and it feels like it's a little bit of a lag when I try to go to a new tab or something like that. It'll take a minute or two, literally, right? Like literally like 60 seconds, and then it's fully fledged, running perfectly fine. And at first I thought this is frozen or is locked up. And really, I realized it was just processing, and I can see it at the bottom right. Down at the bottom right, you'll get your notifications. You know, like for me, I've got my my Free Show Friday show that I run, and I have it on a calendar schedule. So if I go to my calendar, I got it set as a scheduled action here. You can see there. So at 10:55 Eastern time, it goes off. And so you see here, it says 6 days and 23 hours and 37 minutes until it starts that show. So it'll pop up and tell you, hey, this show is about to start in 60 seconds. Then it'll say, hey, it's about to start in 10 seconds. In that same area down there at the bottom, you'll see, hey, it's updating. Hey, synced up something with Chum, synced up something, or auto updated, and all those kind of things. So if you got it on your Google API backups, it'll probably do that real time as well. And you'll see that notification down at the bottom right. That's the only qualm that I've run into with the latest version of Free Show. And I still love the look of it. It'll probably wear off after a while, but I was working with someone that had an older version, and I was like, hey, I feel like I'm going back in time looking at this older version of Free Show, which was really cool. It was cool to see it and to see and appreciate where it's come from in terms of this different design feel, right? So I love it. I love the new design feel. Let me go back. Let's see. So we talked about that. That's it. That's all the review stuff I've got. What questions do you guys have? I don't see anything new in there. Let me see here. Let me move back over here. I see some folks on. If you've joined in, feel free to let me know your name and the place you're from. It could be your country, it could be your state or your city, whatever way you feel comfortable, but feel free to let us know. We love to see more and more people joining the Free Show family and the community. One of the things that I want to make sure to remind you guys of, this is not the only place you can get information about Free Show. You can go to the Facebook page, you can go to the GitHub page, you can also go to the Reddit page and get information. And there's people there that are dedicated and committed to the community to help answer questions there, which is unbelievable. I love it. And so continue to engage in other ways. I do my best on YouTube to connect, and there's other YouTubers that have made some great videos as well. Feel free to reference those. I know for me, one of the things I'm accustomed to doing is what I do best. And I love to train. I love to communicate and connect with people. And so my videos are literally designed, not designed, but trained video. They're training videos, tutorials most of the time. And so I've committed this channel to be just that. So there's some channels out there that kind of introduce you to the program and give you like an overview to introduce it. Once you get that introduction, it's good. And if you need more details, then you might find some other videos in other places, including my channel for that. Tail says they love the free show design. The redesign, man, I love it. Like I said, it just looks so much more modern. I love the rounded corners. I don't know why. Even like one of the things I realized is that when you have it, when it's just one. So if I go back here, this is something that stood out to me. It was cool. It was just interesting. I didn't realize. So I'm gonna disable this. And when I was looking at it the other day, actually, it's not doing it today. This was overlapping here, and it was transparent though, which was really cool. But now it's not. So I don't know what I did to make it do that. Let me see here. Let me go to add a meeting. Okay, let's see. If I play a show. No, it's not overlapping. Yeah, I was making a video and this was overlapping, which it was kind of odd, but I thought it was because it was just one, but that's not the case. That's not the case at all. Interesting. Okay. Sweet. But I love the design layout, the redesign. So let's talk a bit about some questions that have come up this week that I've encountered, and then I'm still open and interested in hearing what questions you all may have run into. Brian says, "Do I use hotkeys in FreeShow?" I do not. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of hotkeys only because I'm more of a mouse pad person. So I like using my mouse pad, especially on this computer. The mouse pad is significant in terms of the size. And so it works out much better for me to do that. And I've just never been one to use a keyboard quite a bit unless I had to. And it's probably because for me, I told you guys a while back, I don't have all my digits. Okay. And so I've got 5 fancy fingers on this hand and 3 1/4 on this hand. So using the keyboard for me, it can be a lost cause at times. But I know a lot of people that are doing like intensive detailed work, they prefer to just keep their hands on the keyboard nonstop. And that's where those hotkeys can really come into play. I don't even like using a regular mouse. I'd rather just use the mouse pad. And so I'm pretty weird. I did a training a while back and I got a lot of grief because I was asking people to come up and demonstrate some of the things that I had taught them. And they were like, "Where's the mouse at?" And somebody actually had one in the group in the class, and so they brought theirs up, and we connected it to my computer to help them out. But yeah, I'm a unique one in that. But the hotkeys are pretty cool. I'm thinking about. I've used hotkeys for my actions at times when I first started using FreeShow. I haven't used them since then too much because I just like to drag them onto my actual items. But let's see here. Where are the hotkeys at? Look, let me see. Let's see. It's not under theme, not under profiles, files. No. Is it general? Where can we find those hotkeys at? Shortcuts, auto shortcut to the first letter in the text. That's one kind of, right? This is the groups. And I think you can do some stuff with the groups. This is a place where I know you can do some shortcuts. Are these the ones you're talking about, Brian, with the group shortcut hotkeys, where you can make these be the letter, right? So I kind of assign these, and some of these are by default, like V and T and P and all that kind of stuff. I think I might have added the B for bridge, but I think it was already there, to be honest with you. But you can assign shortcuts. If I click on this, it'll say press any key to assign it. I can do that if I wanted to. So if I did, that's already taken. Let's do R for the break. And so I could do something like that. So that would be a way to do it. I don't even use those. If I were in FreeShow, I would probably forget just because I'm not musical. That's the other part. I don't use music monikers in that way. I literally will arrow through the song. I just go through the song one slide at a time. And some of your volunteers may be more musical than others. And so they'll be fine with that. And they'll understand where to go to the bridge and when to go to the chorus and all that stuff. I wouldn't even know what those are. If you asked me to go to them, I would be like, what's the words in the song? So everybody be a little bit different with that. As for the first beginner level topic today, let's talk about it. Our first topic is going to be about the best format for video. I'm trying to make it pop up here. There we go. Oh, I'm just not seeing it on my end. It showed up there. Let me see. I'm looking to see if my NDI. Oh, I disabled it. Let me pull that stream back up. Live to stream train. It's showing up in the computer, but I turned it off, that output, to try something. So if I turn it back on, there we go. All right. And so let me check it out. It's still the same. That's good. All right. Best format for video. It still didn't come up. Hold on. I'm in OBS playing around with things here. Live training. Yep. And oh, it did change. So every time you turn off your NDI source and turn it back on, at least on my computer right now, I'm running into an issue of it actually changing my NDI local host number, I guess. I don't know what you'll call it, my host number of my computer for that connection on NDI. So yeah, let's see. You mentioned earlier about having multiple profiles. Is there a video for that? Absolutely. That's a good question, Big L. Big LS305. I'm sorry. So if I go back here, let's see. I'm just on my page. You can check out this video here. This is when it was first introduced, and I think it might have been in the full 148 release. It might have been in a beta, but this is the video here. It's called Profiles in FreeShow. So do a search for that and you'll find a really good overview. It has improved since then in terms of the 149. I think they made some more detailed changes you can make in your profiles, which I think is pretty cool. So if we go back in, and we are in our settings already. So you would have to go to the settings up in the upper right and then go over to the left to see profiles. And when you do, you'll see this option. Right now, I've got an admin tab down here that is completely open with everything, right? Full access, nothing to narrow down. And I've got this other one called default 2. It's not even called volunteer. So I could right click down here and I could rename it if I wanted to. So I can call this, I'm gonna call it training volunteer. And then I hit enter, and then it gives you a list of projects, shows, overlays, templates, functions, stage, and settings. All right. Now, you literally can go in and adjust the access that this user that I just made, training volunteer, could have. So you hit this little arrow down here, and it gives you a list of projects. Okay. Now, and I say projects, folders that are on your projects page, right? So I've got a folder called FreeShow Friday. I've got a folder called FreeShow Simplified and KETCI and Scepter Ministries and Young Men. Those folders have projects in them. If I don't want this volunteer to be able to access a certain one, or just to be able that, I just want them to be able to look and not edit one, you just hit this little eyeball so they can just read only, right? Or you can hit this to where it doesn't even show up there, all right? You can hit that one, and so they won't see that in that list of projects and folders on that part. And so it's very granular in that sense. So you can control that same way with your shows. Any categories you have, you can control the visibility, you can control the editability and or the writability, or the readability, I should say, so you can read and write, right? And then they got this option to just make them all read or make them all write. And then if I hit it again, it'll bring that over because I had those over here already as not visible. You can do that as well. And then I can minimize that and do the same thing for each of these. So we did shows, you can do overlays, same way. If you've got categories already created, you can narrow it down. So your categories come into play. They become more important. So the way that you organize FreeShow is going to dictate the way that you can give access. So for your functions, it's general. So it's just actions, timers, variables. You can make it to where they can see them and or just edit them. All right. They can edit, they can see and read it. Obviously, but here they can just see it. Okay. See and edit, I should say, if they do with the pencil, and the eyeball is just to see it. All right. And then the stage, it gives you a drop down of all of your different stage views or stage layouts that you've created. Okay. Not your outputs, but your stage layouts that you created from up here at the top. All right. And then your settings, it gives you a breakdown of what is going to be visible in the settings. So if you don't want them to be able to adjust profiles, then I would make that to where it's not even visible. If you don't want them to be able to, let's see here, see access to connections, that won't be something you probably want them to be able to see. Styles, you might not want them to, They probably need to see that as well. It will really be based on it. You might not want them to change the theme, for example, or be able to adjust the folders and files and stuff like that. So you can turn those off to where they can't change any of that. And this is a safety precaution. It is not like password protected or anything like that. It's literally just for convenience for the volunteers or users to know, okay, this is what I need access to. I don't need to have access to everything else. All right. Let's see here. Hotkeys, functions, the actions. If you have a programmable external keyboard, you can assign hotkeys to it. Okay, so you're talking about function actions? Absolutely. So when I first started using FreeShow, like I said, I was using those all the time. So if you go to your functions, you can, let's go to actions, for example. So if I right click on this one and I do edit, it gives you the settings up there. Now you can do that and then activate by key press. This is what I think you're talking about. This one is pretty cool. I like that, right? Like I said, if you have some things that are just kind of standard and generic across the board, which is going to be the case for any service, you're going to do some things all the time. I would definitely assign a shortcut to it and just tell your volunteer, press this when that happens. However, the other thing I like is this, to where if they can just, if you make it tied to something in particular, they don't have to worry about that even, right? Because the main thing for me is figuring out ways to alleviate room for error once you figure out what you need or what you want, right? So you get your flow down, and then you work it out and say, okay, I always have to do that. Is there a way I can simplify it? The hotkeys could be a way to simplify it, or those action, key presses, or this activation on an action, I believe is what it's called, can do that as well. So you might say, you know what? When the audio is ending, you could do that. I'm trying to think about something that makes the video, for example, like when the video is ending, there might be an action that you've got set to where it goes to a certain style, right? Because right now it's showing online. You want to make sure online that it's showing the actual default style. For example, when a video is starting, you might say, hey, I need an action that's going to make my online or my live stream see this video full screen as well. So you make an action for that. And then when the video is ending, you need to have another action that makes it to where when the video is ending, you have another action created that says, I'm going to put my live stream set style back to the regular live stream that has lower thirds, for example, right? That's a really cool way to do it. And I like this because it makes it to where you don't have to worry about missing it. Okay, that's the custom activations, but the activate by key press is something that is really cool as well. So yes, I've used those. I've learned to like these more. And then even more than both of those, I like to just drag them onto slides or categories or sections or something like that for the actions as well. All right. So let's talk about the best format for video. Anybody know by chance? I know I made a video about this some time ago, but I know that this is something that is not going to be in the forefront of everybody's mind until you got to put a video in, right? And so let's talk about my experience with FreeShow. And what I've learned is the best format, it can be a MOV or an MP4. Okay, that's like the container that the video is in. Let's say it's like I'm not even gonna act like I'm gonna explain that to you guys in a way that makes sense for everybody, but MOV and MP4 are going to be some of the most popular video formats that I know of. The FreeShow program can work with both of those. However, the way that those are encoded, okay, the way that they are encoded plays more of an impact than the way that they're labeled or created, right? So Tail says MP4s work great. They definitely do. Like I said, MOVs do too, but the coding has to be, or the encoding needs to be in H.264. And MP4 may not be able to do H.265. That's a good question. I don't know that. Let me think about that. Let's see here. If I go down here, hold on, let me see. I'm going to say, can MP4 be H.265? Okay, yes, so you can export an MP4 in H.265 or H.264. The most important thing is that the file is encoded as a H.264. Has anybody ever heard of that or thought about that? And Tael says they use MP4 because of Handbrake. I've heard of Handbrake. What is it? Is it like a, from what I remember, isn't it kind of like a companion app to where it lets you do some, like some shortcuts? I'm about to look it up. Hold on. Open source. Oh, it's a video transcoder. I'm tripping. Okay. So it's a tool built by volunteers converting video from nearly any format to a selection of modern, widely supported codecs. Okay. So let's talk about Handbrake. I've never used it. Oh, I take that back. I think I've used it once. I've never like downloaded for long term, but see this example here. They show you, oh, let's go back to that one. This video encoder, this H.264, all right? That's what we're talking about when we talk about the encoding. And they've got the format here as MP4, but it could easily be anything else. It could be MP5 or whatever you want to. But the idea is when you encode it in H.264, it just plays perfectly fine in FreeShow. If you encode it in a different format, right, a different encoding, it'll be the audio might come through, but the video won't play. It'll just be a black screen. And I ran into that with somebody just the other day, maybe yesterday or the day before, I can't remember, where they had a question or issue about that. And that was the issue, is that it was just that. And so what they did, they had an Apple computer, so they went to iMovie and they re-exported the video, and it was and they made it high quality, and then that made it automatically go to H.264. And then if you have DaVinci Resolve, you can use that to do it. And then DaVinci Resolve you can get for free, or you can use something like this, like Handbrake, which seems to work perfectly fine. I've heard a lot about it in the past. I haven't used it as of late because I mostly use DaVinci for my video editing, and so I export all my videos through that. And so I'm usually in control of the format and the encoding and the codec and all that stuff for my videos. But if you're not, let's say someone sends you a video and it's not playing properly as you prepare for FreeShow, something like Handbrake would be a lifesaver to make sure that you can get that in the right process or right codec. Let me see other platforms. So it does work on Windows. I love that. Works on Mac and Linux. I had some folks tell me about some Linux stuff that is so much more affordable for sure, in terms of being able to get a cheaper computer and installing Linux on it and then running FreeShow and any other program running PDFs and all that kind of stuff. That is a very big deal that I've not had the privilege of doing. I've never had multiple computers like that to test it out. So I'll have to get another computer one day soon and figure out how to do that. Let's see here. So Tail says that they use Handbrake because it does a good job of it says Handbrake compress video to small. Oh, so it compresses videos to smaller sizes, which is pretty cool as well. And so that's where the H.265 and H.264 differ. So H.264 is going to be a little bit bigger. So for example, the person I was working with yesterday, they had a H.265 file that was like 40 megs. When they converted it to H.264 high quality, at least, it went all the way up to 200 megs, right? And so Handbrake might be able to keep it at H.264, but still compress it, which would be pretty cool. But that's something to keep in mind, is that H.264 usually is going to be generally a larger file size. Not a big deal if you're not making a lot of videos. Like for me, let me see. I got my camera over here. Hold on. When you use a camera like this is my GH6, and it records in a quite it can record in H.264, H.265, but the file sizes in this are huge. So when I record to my SD card or my CF Express card on this camera, the actual file sizes, it'll record like 200 megs per second, right? So that's like the lowest resolution I can get out of it. Everything else is going to be more. It might be 400 megs, 600 megs, 1 gig per second, all those different recording formats or sizes I can use. And so when I start to edit my files, they're huge. So when I export, I try to shrink them down and compress them as it's called, to as small as I can, because I've already got the original file super large. If I need to make it bigger and share it for distribution to a platform or something like that for it to be of better quality, I can do that from the original. But typically, I just do H.265 to keep it small and compact. And I just have to be mindful of that with FreeShow, that it works better with H.264 from my experience. And then someone says, Brian says, there are also free online re-encoders. Really cool. Really cool. And my guess, though, is, yeah, Handbrake would do that. That would be kind of like what Handbrake is. It's a free online. Well, I guess it's not, because you got to download it. And so there's some that are online where you don't have to make a download, is what I'm guessing. Is that what you mean, Brian? To where you can just do the same thing as Handbrake without having to download some type of program to your computer. which I can get that. I can dig it. All right. What other questions do you guys have about the best format, right? So you can do MP4 MOV, not a big deal, but the way the video is encoded is going to be the most important thing. All right. And let me see here. And I haven't tested this out in the latest version of FreeShow, believe it or not. So I'm going to try to prove myself wrong. Let me see what I got here. This video, that's H.264. I'm looking to see if I got a video that is H.265. Let's see. Okay, so this is one. This is an issue I ran into trying to solve a question for somebody. Let me see this one. Okay, this is one too. And this one, that was a conversation. All right, so my last two here, these are in my movies folder. I'm just looking to make sure I can show you guys this. This is HD. Okay, so let's see if I can find one in my media to test this out now, because I have not tested this out lately. So I got that. I got videos. Let's see if I can add a folder. I don't know if it'll count my movies as a folder or not. It says this folder does already exist. Okay, where is it at? I'm guessing it's just this videos folder. And so this is going back in time. I want to try to find one of my later ones. So let's see here. That's not it. All right, here's what I'll do. I'll put them into another folder. I'm gonna make another folder for this and put it in there real quick. Hold on. Because I just want to be able to find the video. All right, let's see. New folder, we're gonna call this. Oh. Test videos is what I'm gonna call it. And let's see here. Tail says H.265s can take longer to process. Now that's a big deal, especially it really just depends on if your computer has an H.265 hardware encoder to it. Like, so any of the Apple M chip computers have a built-in encoder for it. So it actually works pretty efficient. But if your computer's using the CPU to try to process it, it can definitely take longer. I completely agree. Let's see here. Foundation Files take longer to process in Facebook and YouTube when I upload a video compared to H.264. Oh yeah, I can imagine that too. So I'm thinking about processing it when you're creating a video, but you're talking about uploading it and for them to process it. That would make sense for sure, because it's just more compressed. So that their system has to do more work to decompress it, to actually open it up and actually process it, right? So all the information is still there, but it's just the Gary version is just jam-packed tighter, right? It's like taking a foil ball and giving it to somebody and they squeeze it down to be small, but then you can give it to somebody else that may be a little bit stronger. They can squeeze it and make it even smaller. That's what H.264 does. And then trying to unfold that without tearing it is even harder because it's so much tighter. That's the Gary version of what happens with H.264 and H.265. It may not hold up in court, but that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. All right, so let me see if I can add this other folder. So actually, it should be there. And I just call it test videos. All right, so this one is an H.265. And so right now it's spinning up. Okay, it shows up, which is good. So if I click this, it should start to play. They're going to now add rural community. And it did. It played, but it was a little bit slower to get started, but the H.265 do play in there now. Like I said, I know from my experience, they didn't play there on the older versions too well, but on the new version 149, it played just fine. And it showed up. That was what it couldn't do in the last one. It wouldn't even get to the point. It would just stay black up here, so you couldn't even see it. Okay, so that's a big deal in terms of how to make it work. It depends on the format you got, or not the format, but the version of FreeShow you got. It can take longer, or it won't work at all. All right. This next topic is one that came up as well this week from a direct conversation. Someone was asking about how to route their video or their audio in FreeShow. Now, this one is one that if you don't play videos in FreeShow, you probably won't run into this, or I'm trying to think, if you don't play music through FreeShow, you probably won't run into this. But if you decide to, there's something that you may have overlooked or not known about. And if you go into your audios tab, okay, I'm gonna go to audio. There's a little icon down here for settings, for your audio settings. And if you click that, it gives you an option to play your audio from wherever you want. It says custom audio output. Now, this is important because you might have a computer in your media booth. It might be your personal computer, it may be a ministry computer. But sometimes I know on my computer, if I get like a text message or an email, it'll make a ding noise. Or if there's something on my calendar that comes up, it'll kind of ding in and make this noise. And this ministry was wanting to make sure that they did not have that happen if they plug their computer into their sound system, right? So if you plug your computer to your soundboard, it's going to get all the sounds that come out of it. And for me on my computer, on my Mac, I go up here to the top and I can go to this little sound icon. And on a Windows computer, I believe it's at the bottom of the little sound icon. And I got all these different options to send my audio to. Okay, this is the output. I can go into sound settings and I can also adjust the input as well. But this is specifically about output. And so I got to go into my speakers for my MacBook. But if I wanted my audio for FreeShow to not go to my speakers, I can go to that settings icon and go here. And I can route it to go through something else. Let's say I plugged in headphones. I can make that go through my headphones and my computer audio just stay on my speakers. And so now my headphone port is connected to the soundboard and it's getting only audio from FreeShow is going through the headphone port because that's what I was connect here. Okay. And then my computer sounds, the notifications and all that stuff will still show up and be heard through my speakers on my laptop. This is imperative for you to understand. It allows you to have some audio routing that's separate from your actual system. Okay, it's different than your system settings. These are your FreeShow audio settings, which is very important. Let's see here. Teo says they use voice meter for setting up sound. Hey, I never heard of that. You guys are hipping me to the game. Let me check out voice meter with 2 E's, it looks like. Oh, it's made by VB Audio. I know about VB Audio now. I got the VB virtual cables, but I never heard of voice meter. Let me see here. It's a virtual audio mixer. Let me pull it up so you guys can see it too. I'm sorry. I'm just reading it to myself. All right. So it's a virtual audio mixer application endowed with virtual audio device used as a virtual IO to mix and manage any audio sources from or to any audio devices or applications. Very cool. And let's see here. Voice meter zip package. It's a standalone application. It looks like, does it only work on Windows? Because I see it says XP to Windows 11 and ARM64. That would be my question to you. Does it only work on Windows or is it compatible with Mac as well? Because this is a zip file. I can't tell if it's a, what is it, EXE or a DMG is what Mac or Apple uses. Virtual audio mixer. I like that. Mix several headsets. I like that. If it is a option for it to be compatible with Mac, I might try it out. Like I said, I'm more, let's see, a voice meter now, new audio experiences to mix your voice with your music on Skype or Google Voice and make your live podcast your own radio program. They give you all this functionality. I think this is pretty sweet. I think a lot of people may be intimidated by the way that all this looks. I know for me, I would probably be personally, but I think it's something that's definitely easy to overcome with some practice and just playing with it. But it looks like you can set your Windows Media Player to go to a certain channel, right? It gives you 8 channels of virtual input, and then you can output those channels to wherever you want. Yeah, that's like a nice mixing board to me. Like I said, I got a Zoom L8 over here that I use for my audio, and I just got one microphone plugged up to it, which is hilarious. But I don't use it for mixing with. I've used it to. I take that back. I've used it for podcast mixing. I've also used it for like music studio type stuff. I'm not a music producer, but me and my wife, we act like we are. Like she can sing and rap and do all these different things, and I know how to like bring it in into a to my computer to actually play with it a little bit. So I've done that. But yeah, it says voice meter potato. What does potato mean? Voice meter for setting up my sound. Is that a whole nother thing? Voice meter potato? Don't tell me that's another thing. I've heard of, we got the virtual audio mixer. Let's see, specifications, compatibility. Yeah, it looks like it only works with Windows. So I will have to get a different computer. Like yet again, I got to get a Linux computer and a Windows computer to test all this stuff out. But I like the idea. So make a note of that if you're looking for a way to control your audio differently than you can now. Okay, like I said, what I just showed you in FreeShow, you can control your FreeShow audio to go to a certain output from your computer, and it literally will pick up. So this device, that if you get the voice meter, it'll be there as well in the drop down here. For example, I've got the VB virtual cables. I use those a lot when I'm kind of recording something off my computer or something like that. Now I don't want it to be playing out loud. I can just route the audio there, and then I can tell my screen recording to record from there as well. Okay. Very cool stuff. Very cool stuff. All right. So that's what I wanted to make sure you understood about routing audio. Now, the other thing about your audio in the new version, at least, you can go into your playlist. Let's see here. I think let's see, new intro songs. I made a new intro, live stream intro. Yeah, here we go. I shortened them up. And so these here, this is my playlist that I play before my FreeShow Fridays show. I can hit the settings here. You can adjust the volume of that playlist as well. Brian highlighted that the audio sounded better on the intro today. This is the reason why I actually went in here and adjusted this and turned this down and mixed it with my actual main mixer to where this was at 100 still, but I turned this down to be at 60. Whereas before, I think this was at 100 and then this was down to like 20 or something like that, maybe 40. So I was making some adjustments and playing with that. And then that's all going into OBS because I've got my NDI audio on for my my live training when it shows just my overlays here. Okay. And so you got audio options for where it gets output, right? You can specify the output, but also to adjust the volume levels for each individual playlist as well. And the crossfade. I got my crossfade up pretty high because I try to make it to where it's pretty seamless, but that's only because my music has a significant gap before and after at the end and the beginning, and I wanted to kind of overlap each other. So I had to make it a little bit more. Let's see here. It has more inputs and outputs. So voice meter, I'm guessing, Tayo, you're talking about has more inputs and outputs. I would definitely agree. Definitely agree. Than what you can see here in FreeShow. This is just one. You would have plenty more. Like I said, it said it had 8 channels. I'm guessing you can probably see or do even more. Let me see here. One time virtual. So 2 bus, an A and a B. Audio engine capability. For all you audio engineers, this will be something that you guys would enjoy. I'm not even going to act like I'm a master at audio engineering, but I am well enough to be dangerous, right? And so it's showing you the physical audio devices, the voice meter virtual, and it shows you here, okay? And then stereo 2, stereo 1, 8 channel. Oh, that's this here, okay? And then it's got the input for 8 virtual inputs and then the virtual outputs. Yep, another 8 of those as well. Very cool. Let's see here. Please show how to import an OBS virtual camera into FreeShow. That's interesting. I've never done that. So let's try that. All right. So to import a virtual camera, let's see. If I minimize this, I'm gonna pull OBS up. Let's see. So this is my OBS screen. All right. This is what I can see here. And this is a Q&A. So I'll update that to be Q&A. And if I turn on my virtual camera, right, it's showing up here. What I expect to happen is if I go into media in FreeShow, it may show up. Let me see. So if I go to cameras, there we go. OBS virtual camera right there. And let's see if it's got, audio with it. Are you guys seeing that audio? Let me see. Mic check. Mic check 1, 2. Okay. It might have had audio with it. I think I don't have my audio all the way down. Let me turn it down here just in case, because that was there. All right. So that's it. You literally just turn on the virtual cam, and then you go into your media on FreeShow and go to cameras, and you got your OBS virtual cam there. This is my cell phone here pointing at my fan that's blowing on me right now, drying my throat out. And then this is my my webcam on my laptop. That's there. And then this one over here is my actual camera that I'm using for you guys. That's my GH5. And then this was a second. This was what I had my GH6 plugged into. I had my GH6 plugged into that one on another video a while back. And it was just another USB capture card that's still connected to my computer. So it's just blank. That's why that's like that. So it's pretty simple to do. Let's see here. So Brian, all you do is go into OBS and turn on your virtual camera. And then it's got some settings here, and you can select what you want that virtual camera to do, which is pretty cool in OBS. I'm actually working on a deep dive into OBS. And I say deep dive, as deep as I can go, at least in terms of helping people understand how to use it for ministry flow. At first glance, I know OBS is intimidating. I remember when I first started using OBS, it was like when I first started using anything else, like FreeShow even. It's just like, what are you supposed to do? How's this work? Where's everything at, right? And so that's what this was like too. But you got these options to where you can say, I want the actual virtual cam to be the program, which is what you guys are seeing, or you can make it be a specific scene, which are what I've got here. So I can make it be, let's say I'm gonna pick a scene here, okay? And so I can make the virtual cam be, let's do Gary headshot. Let's do that one. All right. So I'll say, okay. It says the virtual cam will be restarted. So I'll say, okay. So it stopped and started real quick. Now, when I go into FreeShow, check out my virtual cam. Even though right now, this is what's showing on OBS. Okay. This is what it's showing. It's literally showing my shared or my split screen, sharing my actual top screen here with me on the side. But when I go to my virtual cam now, it's showing this Gary headshot, right? It's showing this shot or this scene in OBS that I've got set up as well. And so that would be a way that you can do it. And it's literally just a mirror of what my GH5 is doing with that little background to it, the little orange background and the overlays. This is just the raw camera of my GH5, and it doesn't have anything on the side because it's shooting in a open gate format. So it's full width of the sensor. And if it was shooting in like 4K or HD, it would take the center piece of this this piece out, and the top and the bottom will be cropped off, right? But this is how big the size of my sensor is, literally that shape. And so it records the entire screen if I wanted to. And that's something that's kind of unique to certain Panasonic. Most Panasonic cameras can do that. So that's one of the things I like about them. And it gives me a good way to do a vertical video. So when I do go into my this angle here, where you guys see me cut off, it's not super cropped in, even though this is a smaller sensor, is not cropped in. It's actually pretty tall, which is good. All right, let's see here. So how to import an OBS virtual camera. We talked about that. Potato and banana voice meter have more inputs and outputs. Oh, V-band allows to create system to send out audio to a cell phone app receiver. That's crazy. Okay. Let me see here. So voice meter potato. And so potato and banana. This is crazy. Okay, so when I select vMix export, vMix shows as an input into FreeShow. Okay. Yep. So that's kind of like probably like the virtual camera in OBS is my guess, the vMix export. But does it give you an option to pick which scene in vMix that you want to export? That would be my question, Teo. Let me know. Then it says, Teo says, is it possible to export FreeShow output to Zoom without first using an NDI webcam? So good question. When I do my Zoom meetings right now, actually, I do a Zoom meeting with some young men in Kansas City, which is my hometown. I use Zoom, I use FreeShow, and I use OBS all at the same time. And what I do is I literally do like I'm doing with you guys, but I turn on my virtual camera and I let Zoom see my virtual camera. And I just set my virtual camera to be not a scene. I actually set it to just be my program default. and then I'll share. So this is we actually read the book from the book of Judges this week. So what they saw was the book of Judges. I'm gonna turn this off. And so they saw like this. Let me pull it back up the way it was. So they saw this. No, they didn't see that. That's not what they saw. They saw something like that. Okay, so what you guys are looking at now without the overlays. So if I clear the overlays, this is what they were looking at. There we go. So they just saw that and they saw me on the side and they were good to go to talk about what was going on, and they read the scriptures with me and we talked about it and had a good conversation about Samson. All right. Now it says he spent the night with a prostitute. That's a big deal. This is something that's worse than the video games that they could watch and things like that. But we had to talk about it. We were sensitive to it because it was young men of all different ages. So it was an interesting discussion, but we didn't spend a lot of time there. But we talked about decisions, which was a really, really important piece of Samson's life that kind of goes up and down. He had really high highs and really low lows, is what we discussed. So we talked about the need for wisdom with Samson. Let's go back to sharing my screen though. All right. And so that's how I would do it. I would use, if you got vmix, you could probably do something like that as well with you said vmix export, but like for me, I use OBS and I turn on my virtual camera, and then I do turn on NDI, but you said without first using the NDI webcam. I don't use an NDI webcam that I know of. I'm just using FreeShow OBS NDI, right, to send that to OBS. So I use FreeShow NDI to send to OBS, and then I manage everything in OBS with my companion app, so I can cut to different scenes. So I can cut to just me as a talking head. I can cut to just what's on the screen. Uh-oh. Okay, did I hit the outro button? Okay, I can cut to what's just on the screen. I can also cut to split what's on the screen, and then I can also cut to sharing my screen as well. And I literally run my Zoom with those young men. I'll start out with just the talking head, kind of like what I do here on this show. And then I'll cut to the primary split where I'll share the scriptures with them when we start reading. Okay. But that's coming through my virtual cam. So Zoom is saying, what webcam do you want to use? And I just pick OBS virtual cam. And that's it. All right. So for vmix export, it only exports the main output. Got you. Yeah, OBS is free. vmix, I don't think vmix is free, but it's Windows only as well. So that's the only thing I don't like about it more than anything, actually. Is vmix free? Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it's free. But OBS is, and it's really simple to use once you understand it. So I recommend trying it out. Let's see here. I use vmix to stream, but I need to bring FreeShow to Zoom and not be streaming audience, which is why I use NDI webcam. Oh, but I need to bring FreeShow to Zoom and not be streaming the audience. Okay. So you got a webcam, or not a webcam, but you've got a camera set up. And then the NDI webcam is just the app that's made by NDI, right? And then you use that as your input into Zoom that's coming from vmix. And so what I would say is I use vmix to stream, but I need to bring FreeShow to Zoom. Yeah, you're gonna need that separate source, and I'm trying to think about another way to do it. What you got is a pretty good solution. That's what I recommend with most people, but I just recommend OBS just because it's compatible with Windows and Mac. But that would be my solution to them as well, as use NDI and then send out their signal that they want to send in-house through FreeShow connected to a computer, and then on another computer they'll be getting the OBS through NDI from there, and that'll be whatever they want, right? Because the ones on Zoom, some of the churches I work with, they still want to show the actual camera. They do want to show the audience from time to time, but they also want to cut to something else, and so we can do that with the NDI from OBS and or from FreeShow. So what they would do, I'm trying to think about how they're running it now. They're going to be cutting back and forth. There's one person on the main with the FreeShow. They're going to be having FreeShow go through NDI. So they're going to get, so this person is going to be switching on and out and showing NDI and then turn it off and showing the camera on another computer. Let's see. Tony Mobley says, hello, sir. Will this work with Mimo Live, Zoom, and FreeShow? Tony, you are the man when it comes to Mimo Live. I don't know that I've gotten quite as savvy with it. I definitely know I'm not as savvy with it as you are. And it's possible, I'm sure, but Zoom and FreeShow, as long as you can get your FreeShow signal to Mimo Live, right? And then Mimo Live can send some type of webcam virtual signal that Zoom can read. And that's where I don't know about Mimo Live. I don't know if it has that virtual cam or webcam output. In OBS, they call it a virtual cam. In vMix, I think that she said it, or not she, but Tayel says, I'm not sure if it's a girl, Tayel's a guy or a girl, so I'm saying Tayel said they use something in vMix called NDI webcam, right? And that's what Zoom reads. But Zoom can only read a camera, right? It can only read a camera input. So you can put in a capture card and Zoom will read that, right? It cannot read just straight NDI from what I've experienced. It has to be some type of webcam showing. So you got to have something that converts the NDI signal from FreeShow into a webcam. That's the only reason right now that you can't bypass those programs like OBS or vMix in this case, straight from FreeShow. That day may come where FreeShow can just create some kind of virtual cam. If it could do that, that's lights out. Like, that's crazy that it would be able to do that, because it would literally simplify the process, because it already can take video signal. And like you guys can see here, I can put my video behind my lyrics, my scriptures, in FreeShow automatically right off the top. So it works out perfectly. I can even have that be the background to a certain output in terms of my live stream and so forth and so on. So yeah, it would be crazy. Let's see, you can edit this. I don't think we can set it. What I would do is I would just set it as a camera on a certain feed on a template, and then you can actually route that. So yeah, it's crazy. That would be crazy if you could do that. I'm gonna say it that way. So Tony, I believe you can. It would surprise me if Mimo Live can't send out a virtual webcam signal. But if it cannot, then no, you won't be able to. Tail says you can set up a portion of your screen to NDI webcam. Interesting. A portion of the screen. Okay. And then Brian says, any tips for keeping things organized in FreeShow to be able to find anything in seconds? That's a good question, Brian. What I would say for that, when it comes to organizing things in FreeShow, the most important thing to me is the way that you organize your categories, right? So for me, for example, I was working on something, we're going to get into it in a second, like lower thirds overlays, right? So however you organize these are going to be very important, especially if you use overlays quite a bit. Now, the other part of this that I think is important is in your functions, they don't necessarily have categories, right? They've got these tags though, right? So same way, if you're working on, for me, I work on game shows. I've got a podcast set up here that doesn't have anything in it for actions, but I do have one here. These are some variables for a podcast, like a football style podcast. And then this one is one of the tests we did for training. But using your tags to organize in your functions is going to be important. And then the other part of it is using your for me, I like to use the Command G, right? So if you do Command G and do a quick search, you can find anything just like that. The only downside of using Command G, so if I typed in, I don't know, templates, right? It'll pull up all kinds of options for you to find everything you need. And I love it mostly, not mostly, but partly because it shows some of my videos in there. So if you're looking for a video tutorial on how to use this, it'll pop up and it'll take you to YouTube and it'll play one of my videos. Like this one's deep dive into templates. I think that's the one I just came out with. Yeah, that was from last week or a week or two ago. And then how to edit templates, that's another video. So all these, and then you also have this question mark, takes you right to their documents page. So this particular search sends you outside of FreeShow potentially. But down here, it gives you some shows. These are all different show icons, and I made a few shows that have that in there. And you can also just create one really quick. However, on the right side, if I type in templates, notice that search doesn't do anything. But if I'm trying to find a show, that's one of the best ways to do it. Okay, so I can go and I can select all here and I can type in the search for templates and it'll pull it up and show you. And not only will it show you those same ones we saw earlier, but you can drag those into your show. So I can literally take this templates explained and put it here. If I did Command G search, I can't drag it, but I can play it. I can select it and it'll automatically start playing. So you won't be able to develop a project like a service laid out with the Command G search, but it will be probably the quickest way to find anything because it searches all over FreeShow and the internet and the in terms of the internet, in terms of YouTube, from videos that I've created, and then also on the FreeShow website on documentation that they have about that topic, right? And so it really just depends. I would say trying to find something fast. If you're preparing a show and you're creating it, I would go over here to the right. Okay. And I would do this because this is all prep time. This is all beforehand. So you got time and you're trying to add it to your show or to your project. If it's live during the service, and it doesn't matter if it's in the project or not, you're just trying to get this done, I would do Command G every time. And I would just do that. And then when you select it, it just automatically takes you right into that. Okay. So that's how I would do my searching, but that's a big part of this process, finding anything quick, right? Now, the other part of this is the way that you organize your projects from start to finish, right? So you're going to create projects. One of the things I always recommend, and you guys know this if you've been with me for any amount of time, is create your perfect project or perfect service in terms of all the section headers you want and everything else, and then make a project template. And then just get that template and then just change the date. So if I want to do a Free Show Friday, I can select Free Show Friday template, and all it does is it gives me a date here for that, and it puts it into my Young Men in the Bible, and I can hit enter, but it'll take me right into it and it'll show me those particular things. But I also can drag this around and put it into my Free Show Friday. And if I wanted to, I can just select the Free Show Friday folder and it'll automatically put it in there when I select it. Okay, so that saves a little bit of time getting started. After that, I would just say the way that you've got everything organized with those categories is going to be key. And those tags, that's going to be key for finding things quickly. And if you can't find it there the way you want, like my templates, I've got them organized as best I can right now. I'm not in dire situations for doing things live. I usually have plenty of prep time. I say plenty. For me, 15 minutes is plenty of prep time for what I do for my live streams, for my Bible studies and teachings and things like that. 15 minutes is all I really need because I'm not doing an elaborate show. I'm usually just doing the part. I might be just doing the teaching, or I might be facilitating the reading of the scriptures. And I can do that pretty quick and easy. And I just find the templates that I want, find the overlays I need. And if I need to, I'll recreate some and or add some new functions and make some new variables and all that kind of stuff. And I would just make a new tag on the way while I do that. And I can do that pretty quick and easy. And so the more comfort level you have with Free Show, the quicker you'll be able to find stuff if you have your processes organized. And I'm not going to say mine's are the most organized, but I can give you some tips on some ways you can organize it like that. Let's see here. Let's go down. Let's see. Any tips for keeping things organized? Okay. Tail says you can set up in virtual windows or screen to be set to NDI webcam so it can be selected in Zoom or Microsoft Teams. Okay. So you can set up in virtual windows. And this is, I'm guessing you're talking about is that in vMix, Tayo, for the virtual windows or screen to be set to the NDI? Oh, I think I see what you're saying in terms of the NDI webcam. So it can be selected in Zoom. Yeah, I get that. I agree. So the NDI webcam is just it's a free download that you can get from the NDI website, NDI Tools, I believe it is, or NDI.tools. I can't remember. But you can download those. The funny thing is about the NDI webcam, I don't think that's available on Mac either. Let me see. And so if I bring this up here, so NDI take control. So it's got the tools for Windows and they got the webcam, feed any content into your stream, right? On Mac, okay, they call it the virtual input. And that's just feeding any content into your stream. So they both do the same thing, I'm sure. But this is a free download. So you can get this and you just pick which one you need. right? And that allows you to get an NDI signal from vMix. And maybe Mimo Live does an NDI output. If it does, then you could use this. Even if Mimo Live does not have a virtual output, you can make it go to NDI through as an output to the NDI virtual input or the NDI webcam, all right, input. And it'll send that out, and your Zoom program will read that input as a webcam. Okay. Very good questions. I love this, you guys. This is awesome. The last thing I want to talk about, somebody asked on in the community on one of my videos, they asked about how to, I'm trying to get over to my page here. Hold on. Where is my OBS? Oh, it's up there. But they asked how to use Canva, right, to make animated lower thirds. And this is a pretty cool idea, especially if you like using Canva, which I'm curious, how many of you all are using Canva out there? How many of you all use Canva for your flyers maybe, or for your announcements, or for creating lower thirds, right? So I worked on a video, and you guys have seen some of these, but I call it the Free Show Lab, where I just literally just try to figure it out. And I haven't released it yet, so I'll probably release it after this, maybe tomorrow or Sunday or something like that. And it's just me figuring out how to do this. But I wanted to show you guys basically what I came up with shorthand in Free Show Friday, and then you can see the long form if you want to of how I got here. But ultimately, this is what the question was. Hey Gary, could you make a video about making lower thirds using Canva and using it in Free Show? They said because there's more varied transitions. All right. And so here's some of the lower thirds I found, just some generic, I call them generic, but they're fine. Like I said, this one's pretty cool. And these are all just in Free Show. I like this one because it's kind of animated. And the only thing I would say that's important is exporting this out. When you download it from the share icon, not making it an MP4, but making it a GIF. All right. The next important thing is when you select a GIF or a GIF, I'm not sure what it's called, make sure you select transparent background. When you do that, everywhere here, this got this white background, it will not show up in Free Show. All right. If you do it any other way, you try to make it a video, you could do it as a PNG, but it's not going to be animated from here. It's going to be, you have to animate it in Free Show, right? But that was the biggest thing. And then the other part of this is when you select these and you try to animate them and all that kind of stuff, there are options that you can see that will come up and it'll show you the time frame that these will show up. And I don't know how to make it show that, but in my video, I was able to see that. So you can actually make these have their own animated time frame, and then you coordinate that time frame in your overlays in Free Show. And so you would have something like this one here. And it just comes in, and the words are from Free Show, but that animation is from Canva. And I've got it set on a timer to where it goes away after 10 seconds. And then this one is, let's do this one first. Let's see. This is the way, actually that one, the last one I just showed you was actually a Free Show animation. This was the Canva animation. But the words are still done in Free Show. So that little zoom out thing there. Now, this is another one. Let's see, this one, pretty basic as well. The words were there, no big deal. But this one was pretty complex. Like I said, it had a pretty cool layout. I like the layout of it. I think the laying out of content is easier in Canva and more flexible because it's designed to do that. Like it's more like a Photoshop type tool to where it gives you a lot of granular control. But I see that Tony Mobley says he's using Canva. I love it. Big L says he's using Canva, or they're using Canva. Tail says, no, I use regular Photoshop or Paint Shop for creating graphics. Yeah, so this is kind of like a Photoshop type thing, right? And so depending on what you prefer, those are going to probably always supersede what you can do individually in Free Show. They just don't do everything else the Free Show does. So if you have a way or place that you design, I don't think that needs to change. But I can tell you that I like the animations that come in Free Show. Like this one here is here, and I just have my name pop up there like that, Gary B. Company. I just made up something. And then this is the actual, that Canva animations was actually just a variable that I had. And so I liked I like the free show animations because they're simple. And for me, I don't want them to be too obtrusive, but I walk through how to set those up, right? These are all, I made 4 different Canva animations. Let's see, what is best use case for a totally virtual, what's the best use case for a totally virtual, how using Zoom? What's the HOW, Tony? Is it how, are you saying how to or totally virtual? What's HOW? Oh, house of worship. Gotcha. So for a totally virtual house of worship using Zoom, it's going to vary because it's going to depend on who has access to free show. If the person leading the meeting has access to free show, it's completely, I say completely easy. That would be the role I find myself in. Is I'm usually the leader, and I am using free show while I'm teaching, or while I'm facilitating, or while I'm doing whatever to lead that service. Right. So if the person using free show is the leader, and they're the main one speaking, it makes a lot of sense because they can show the scriptures how they want. They can arrange their self how they want, like I'm arranging myself here, and it's on their computer. It's a little bit harder when the completely virtual house of worship, one person is the media person's at their house and the person that's the main speaker's at their house, because in Zoom those 2 windows or those two people don't merge. You can't merge them together. You can show one and highlight that one by itself or the other, and so it would really be a handoff in terms of conversation ahead of time as to what we want to be seen. And so maybe you show up the scriptures while they're teaching, and you make the scriptures be the primary window, and or their notes be the primary window, and you're the one that's the media person. They're speaking, but the main thing everybody sees is this window from your screen that is just free show scriptures, right? That's just like this, okay, with none of the overlays. Let me clear the overlays out. So I take that back. It'll be more like this, right? So everybody in the audience everybody that's on virtual is gonna just see the scriptures, and the person that's speaking is gonna be seeing the same thing, and they're gonna be kind of the smaller version of the conversation. They're gonna be just one of the little windows in the grid. People will be able to hear them still, but you would spotlight the main window from Free Show that's coming in my case through OBS as a virtual cam into Zoom, and it's showing the scriptures and any notes that person has. So ultimately it becomes almost like their notes. They're reading it and seeing it just like everybody else, but they're ones that are prepared to preach and to teach. And so they would be able to see that way. If you're in 2 separate places, ideally it would be to connect with each other at the same place. If you can get yourself and the leader, if you're not the leader, to be in the same house on the same network, right? Then you can do anything you pretty much want to, because it's now you're literally like in a service connected in the same building, to where now the camera can be on the person speaking. You can arrange it to where now you can do something like this, to where you can arrange them in OBS, which is what I do. I got myself arranged in OBS to where I'm on the side, and then the scriptures are off to the side over here for me, right? And then I can look here on my main screen, and it looks like I'm looking at that side of the screen where the notes are, the scriptures are. And as a speaker, I'm reading my notes, but everybody else looks at it like I'm looking at the scriptures that they're looking at as well. Okay. And so that's something that would be ideal. And I just got my camera off to the side on my desk here. All right. That would be the most ideal, is that the media person and the leader or facilitator be in the same space. If it's completely separate, then you guys have a conversation and say, hey, do you want me to just show all the notes, all the songs, all the scriptures and all that stuff from my screen from Free Show through OBS, and make it the main spotlight screen? And then you might switch back and forth between who's the spotlight. Maybe they're done with their notes or done with the scripture references. Then you can spotlight the actual speaker or facilitator as the media person that's running Zoom. Okay. That would be the ideal in my mindset, at least. Let's see here. How can Cludford says, hi, how can we do scrolling message alerts? Great question. Let's talk about that real quick. How do you do scrolling message alerts in Free Show? The first thing I would say is consider what is it that you would likely need them for. All right. If you know exactly what they're going to be for, or you know it's going to be the same message every time, there's a couple different ways to approach it. But let's say you need to make sure that it's a varied message. You don't know what the message is going to be. Maybe it's headlights one day, or maybe it's somebody's child needs to be taken care of one other day and they're in the youth group or something like that. Then I would approach it this way. So this is the most universal way I would say. I would go into overlays. I would start there. And let me see. I got one called important message, but I'm going to make it again. So I'm going to say new overlay. And I'm going to call this one, what'd you call this? You called it message alert. So I'm gonna call it message alert. All right. And it brings you into the edit page. And what would you really need? You really need a text box. Okay. That's going to be number one. And then what I like to do is I like to make the text box go from end to end. All right. Now you can put it at the top or the bottom. Some ministries prefer it to be at the top. Some prefer it at the bottom. That's completely up to you. So I'm going to move this one to the bottom because I've got one for the top already. And then you pick what color you want this to be. I would make sure it's auto sized. Let me get a sip of water, you guys. Hold on. I would make sure that it is auto sized to fit. That way, no matter how long your message is, it'll always show up properly and it'll just shrink to fit. Okay. And then from here, you would go into your item in the upper here and just change the background color, right? You want it to be seen. Maybe you make it orange. Okay. And then the text will be white. Let me pull this over to the end. It looks like it's not going all the way over. All right. And so now my text is set to be white, but that's just a part of it. Okay. What you have to do next is you have to go into your functions and under variables. Okay. You would make a new variable. And I'm going to call this one text, just a text variable. And we're going to say, when we say message alert, and then I'm going to hit enter. It locks it in after I close it. And then let's see here. I got this option here called message alert. You can know I got a lot of variables, but you can see this one here is completely blank. It just says value. So I'm going to say license number 3456789 has lights on. Okay. This is called message alert. Okay. Hit enter. Nothing happens, but I've got this variable that I've created. Now I can go back into my edit and I can highlight that particular text box and right click on it. And all I'm going to do is I want to point to that message alert. So it's called a dynamic value. And then it pops up all these different dynamic values that you can have, right? I'm gonna scroll all the way down to the bottom to these variables, which is what I just opened up and created. And it's called message alerts. So these are, I believe they're in alphabetical order. So yeah, these are G's, these are I's, and this is an M. Message alert right here. I just select that box and it pops up and it shows you the message alert. Now notice here, this is where I see that overlay. So when you're in the edit page, those things overlap. That's where it was. Okay, cool. All right, so I got that message alert done. In my overlays, it's down here at the bottom and it shows you that number. So if I select it now, it shows up license number 3456789 has lights on. And you can make that stay up as long as you want. If it's something that you know you're going to use regularly, you can right click on this particular message and edit it, or not edit, but display duration. So you can make it just be up there for a certain amount of time. You might say, I'm gonna make it be up there for 20 seconds, right? Type in 20 and then close it out. And it'll see that it'll have that 20-second notice on it. And now whenever you guys need to make a special message, you just go to your functions and go into your message alerts. Okay. This is the message alert variable under your variables. And you might have a different message. Let's say here, Nico has a cough and needs attention. I'm making that up. You probably won't do that. I don't know how churches would do that. In terms of the size of the church, it'll vary. In my churches, everybody knew who Nico was, so it wouldn't be a big deal just knowing the name and that's it. But the bigger the church, that's not going to be likely. All right, so I got that there. I can go back into my overlays and I can just select that. And guess what? Nico has a cough comes up and not the license plate. Okay, and this is a quick way. Now, it's not scrolling yet, but it's showing up. I want to make sure we got the message there. I almost forgot about the scrolling, actually. If we go to edit, I select that text box again. Okay, I right clicked and edited it. If I scroll all the way down here, and let's see, we go to this option that says special, you'll see an option that says scrolling. And most at least in America, we're going to scroll from the right to the left. I got to think that through. All right. And so we'll do that. And it's got the scroll duration there. You can see a preview of it down here. And so now it's scrolling. It's set to 30. You can increase or decrease that depending on how fast or slow you want it to be. So now when I select it, you'll see it and it looks like this. It's an orange box that shows up, or orange bar, and then it shows the message showing what we typed in. If in the meantime, I need to change that, and maybe I say, he is fine now. I can update that. And now that overlay, it goes off after 20 seconds. I can click it again. I can change it real time though, right? If I didn't turn on that 20-second duration, it could be up there and it'll change real time in the middle of it scrolling. Okay. But in this case, I didn't have time to do that, but it'll be there. All right. So that would be my recommendation on your message alerts. At the bottom, you can move this up to the top. All you're doing is editing and overlay. Okay. Let's see here. I'm just trying to catch up on the notes here. How can we do scrolling? Tony Molly says house of worship. Thanks for catching me up on that. I figured it out sooner or later. It was a little bit later, but I appreciate that. Let's see here. For future FreeShow Friday show, how about a poll of what viewers use, Windows and Mac, etc., made in FreeShow? Ah. So to do the poll thing and make it in FreeShow, the challenge is going to be interactivity. I don't think anybody can interact with it, so I would have to do it like on YouTube. That would be the only way I can think of. But I like the idea. Yeah, I have to think about that. The developer, Christopher, might have a solution to actually allow people. I know in the past when I was, this was years ago now, but I remember there was a program I would use that show up on the projector screen, and it had a way for people to text in their poll. And they would just go to, they would just type in a number, whatever showed up on. I would put the number up on the screen, and it'll put the question up, and they can type it in, and I can see the results real time. So yeah, that would be pretty cool, Brian. Let's see here. Teo says, I have some insight to using Zoom when you are in another location and trying to stream and working FreeShow. You have to pull the preacher video into vMix OBS from Zoom. Oh, that makes sense. And so if when you're in another location, you can get the pastor's video in from Zoom into vMix OBS and then put it into your service in your Zoom, right? Because you're making a virtual cam. I love that idea. My question, Tayel, is how do you make sure that pastor's video stays in the shot, I guess is what I'm curious about. Because let's say there's 15 people. How do you select that in vMix? I'm curious. Because I love that idea. And I'm sure there's probably a solution on OBS to do something like that, to capture a certain person in a Zoom meeting. I just don't go that far into OBS. I've been known to be, I should say, more of a basic user of OBS. I just know what I know, right? So I'm very comfortable with what I use it for, and it's really cool for that. She says, Teo says, you also have output FreeShow to Zoom and vMix. So you also have to, I'm guessing Teo was saying you also have to output FreeShow to Zoom and vMix and OBS. Okay. So basically, I'm guessing it sounds like so Zoom is receiving something from the pastor's camera, or their cameras coming in through Zoom on their house at their place. And then you're seeing that in your Zoom, you're putting that into vMix, but you also have in your Zoom page, you have FreeShow in this case. And then in vMix, it sounds like you can combine those. I put FreeShow to Zoom and then vMix/OBS. Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. Like I said, I've never tried it though. Like I said, I've never been in that situation. Actually, for that situation, I actually I was planning to do a lot of virtual meetings like that. So I ended up getting a YOLO box. And a YOLO box would solve that problem quite a bit as well. It doesn't, well, I guess you could put it into Zoom hypothetically. Yeah. I just used it as it was because it allows you to bring in those guests. And so what I would say is, a solution like that could work. Yeah, it will give you an output because you can actually output your YOLO box as a webcam into your computer. The difference with this is when you do the guest in the YOLO box, you have to be like prepared or planning to go live. It can't just be just in monitor mode and just sharing it as a webcam. So you can actually be live. You can be going live on Facebook, but then also in Zoom with your audience in a totally separate view. So your audience is going to see Zoom in church, and there's going to be another audience on Facebook that's getting a signal from YOLO box that is going straight to there with just the pastor and your Zoom, not Zoom, but your free show inputs to it, right? So you have your YOLO box. Let me grab mine real quick. I'll show you. So this is I think it's a YOLO Box Pro, but it has input. So it has like the HDMI 1, 2, and 3. It also has a USB input as well. It has Ethernet connectivity, but it also has this HDMI output. That's what's important in this situation. But also, I take that back. The type USB-C is going to be probably the most important. You can output this directly with a USB-C double-ended cable into your computer, and it'll read this as a webcam. And then it gives you some options here. You can go into monitor mode, or you can sign in to go live. If you can see that, it's kind of bright in here. Let's see if I can tilt it down. So it's got two boxes. This one says monitor mode. This one says go live or to sign in. If I go to monitor mode, it doesn't give me an option to select from multiple people, right, to have as guests. But if I go back out, let's see here. If I go done and I sign in, let me see if I can put in my password. All right. And so if I sign in and I just say plus sign here, it'll give me an option to say create live stream or monitor mode. So when I select create live stream, it'll ask you for the title. You'll put in a title. And I'm gonna just type in something random and I'm gonna just say create. And then it brings you into your live stream. I know this is a bootleg way to show it, but down here you got an option that says people. And from there, I can actually add and invite people, and it allows me to put in, they would just use their cell phone as their camera, and they can keep themselves vertical if they wanted to. And I can actually use that as a source to bring into anything I want to, but it would have to also go live somewhere for it to stay up because it'll just time out after maybe an hour or so. At least that's my experience. It would time out. And that was the hard part for me because me being in a different location and they didn't know what time they were going to start exactly made it really difficult because they didn't want to include worship or anything like that to go live. And so it was really hard to manage that. Let's see here. I got a friend in another language here. Let me see if I can translate that. Hold on. Hold on. I'm gonna go to Google Translate real quick to oh, thank you for this work from Paris. Hey, no problem. This from Église Évangélique Protestante de Asnieres. I don't have a very, very good way to speak. I'm guessing that's French. But welcome from Paris, my friend. Cluffer says alerts seem to be a little easier in other programs like OpenLP. I hope they can make it more straightforward. Maybe just like adding a slide with all the overlay functions and variables. Yes. And so that's a very good question, Cluffer. So when you said you wanted to scroll, that's the reason why I kind of went through that. But there's an option built into FreeShow that's called, well, in the templates, right? Let me scroll up here. If I go to all, I believe it's called message. And you can go into your free show to see yourself. But if I scroll through all of my templates I've got, I believe it's called message. Yes. So you'll have a default option here that's just called message. And so you can do that. The only downside of using that one is that it changes the layout of everything on the slide. And so I still recommend it being an overlay. And that would be a really cool recommendation for the for the developer to make a default important message alert that scrolls and it is a variable. That to me would be really cool, that it would be a variable that you can automatically just update what that message is. So I'll let you have some time to put it in GitHub if you want to, or on Reddit. If not, I'll try to work on that probably early next week if I don't get to it today, because I know I got something to take care of this afternoon. But that's a really good idea. I like that idea. And the developer can come up with a better way to do it. I don't know what the best way to approach that is, but I like the idea of it being simpler. They do have a template, though, that's designed for that. But the downside of the template is that it changes the entire layout, which personally is not going to be the most ideal. All right. What other questions do you guys have before we do the drawing? I say the drawing. It's a raffle. I'm just going to run a random number, and then I'm not necessarily going to be able to say who it is because it's going to probably be somebody's email address. So if they have their name on my website, I'll announce their name. But if not, it'll be I'll show the number. All right. So let me go into this. Will be a cool way to let you see. Right now on my mailing list of people that have opened up emails, the number is, make sure I got this right. It is, I think it's like 1,200 or something. So 1,267. So in FreeShow, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a variable. We're going to just pick a random number. All right. So I'm in variables. I'm going to say new variable. All right. And I'm going to show you how this works, and I'm going to let you know when I'm going to do this. Okay. So it's a random number option. So I can select that. And I'm going to call this FreeShow giveaway 1. We'll say number 1 for now. All right. So each number only once, and then I can make it to where it animates, and then I'm gonna make it be between 1 and 1,267. And this is what you can do on your own, right? And it gives you an option to add a set. And if you do that, it gives you another set of numbers, which I don't need that. So I'm going to take that out. All right. And that gives you, it allows you to make a set of numbers, and you can go through those individually, and it'll pull up a random number each time. So let's say, for example, like I haven't seen the lottery in a long time, but I know they might draw like 5 or 6 different little balls out of the little thing. And at least in the past they did. I don't know how they do it now. It might be all digital, but you can have 5 different sets, and each of those represents a different number for this sequence of numbers, like a lottery type thing, if you wanted to. All right. Where it gives you a sequence of 5 different random numbers, like pulling them out of a hat or something like that. Right now we're just pulling one number out the hat. All right. So I will close that. Okay. And that's done. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into an overlay. Let's put it into an overlay. All right. And I'll put it into our message alert that we just made. So I'm going to right click. It's actually up here already. So I'll right click on this. First of all, I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to right click and add a dynamic value. And what did I call it? Free show giveaway. Here we go. Free show giveaway. So here's how it works. So we've got this random number, and I'm going to turn off the display duration. All right. We'll make this be 0. All right. And that makes it go away. So now it just stays up the whole time. All right. So you all should be able to see that, right? You see the little bar at the bottom. Now, this is a dry run. This is not going to be real, but this is going to be how I do it. So you can see the numbers show up there. What I would do is I need to go into my functions, right? And I just click on this little random icon, and it runs an animated number, and it shows that number right there, right? And so it's showing that number. So it would be whoever was number 446 would win, right? I'm gonna hit it one more time. This is another dry run, just so you can see it again. It's scrolling through. And actually, I'm gonna turn off the scroll. I don't need it to scroll for this particular situation. So let's turn that off here. And none. All right. We'll turn it off, turn it back on. So it should just be there. All right. And so going back to functions, if I hit that, you'll be able to see it randomized down there, right? So you'll see it kind of moving around, and then it shows up what the number is. All right. So now let's reset it. I'm gonna clear it out. Zeros. whatever number I pull now is going to be the winner of the YoloCast exclusive plan for 1 full year. So what that allows you to do is to stream to any platforms, up to 30 platforms, I believe, and gives you so many gigabits of streaming per month and everything like that, completely free for the next 12 months. Now, this plan I think is normally like $50 or something like that per month, and you can do other ones. You might have one that's like this in your church right now. So this will be a good way for you to do a comparison. The biggest benefits, I would say, compared to like a StreamYard or Restream or something like that, to me, YoloCast stands out because they give you that embedding opportunity or possibility with this plan, along with the ability to add a donation button. That's huge. You still can do the streaming and all that stuff with the other ones. You can do the restreaming and like a live simulated thing. This like a rebroadcast is what I call it. But you can do all that with others. But I believe YoloCast has some things that make it stand out. And I wanted to make sure that if they were to, they wanted to connect with me, I wanted to make sure to be able to do something for my audience to be able to give to them. It's just like FreeShow is free. I was like, hey, we need to be able to do something for free. And I want to be able to do it, not just once, but multiple times. So for the next 6 months, I plan to give away at the last FreeShow Friday each month, we're going to give away a YoloCast plan, the exclusive plan. All right. So here we go. If you guys are at your desk, you can give me a drum roll. So I'm gonna get a drum roll sound effect, but this is my fake drum roll sound effect right here. All right. And here we go. This is gonna be the winner. Survey says number 136. So I'm gonna go to my spreadsheet. I'm just gonna go through and see who was number 136. And survey says it is. And if they got a name in here, I'll do that. A lot of times people just leave their email. Yep, this person just left their email. I can say that they are from the United States. And so I will send them an email this week to let them know they've won. And if they do not let me know by next week, I will draw again. Okay. We'll draw again if we need to. Okay. But the goal is that they'll get back with me by the end of the week, next week, this time. All right. But we have our winner. Number 136 is the winner. So I'm excited about that. Like I said, if you can't wait to get a win to win it for free, you can always go in and go to the YOLO Live website and get a plan. If you want to get a discount on it, you can get 20% discount if you use my full name, Gary Bikes Jr. In the discount code. You can get 20% off if you do that on your annual plans, and you can get 20% off on their top 2 plans, which are the business and the professional plans. Okay. But this is going to be a person that's going to win a free exclusive plan. This got everything the business plan has. It's just got less bandwidth, I think, like just a little bit less bandwidth. So it's not like 24/7 live streaming probably wouldn't be a good idea, which most churches don't. All right, I think I'm back on. Sorry about that. My internet went out, you guys. Let's see here. Let me know if you all can hear me now. Let's see. I'm gonna refresh here. All right. Looks like I'm back online. Let me know if you all can hear me okay. It kind of dropped off. I had an internet dropout for some reason. I just kind of turned on Wi-Fi and made it work. But I don't know if you all heard me, but winner is 136. Excellent. Thank you, Teo. And I'll make that, send them an email. And if they don't get back with me, we'll do another drawing. But like I said, expect to have the drawing once a month on the last Friday of each month. And hopefully you guys heard me say a little bit about YoloCast and so why I recommend this particular service. If you already have a live streaming service, that's great. But if you don't feel comfortable live streaming on YouTube yet, a lot of churches aren't there yet. They don't want to do that, but they're using something YoloCast in that place. Instead of sending it to YouTube or to Facebook, you can just send it directly to your own website. And now still your fellowship is going to have access to it. And you don't have to worry about them being able to miss out, right? So they can pull it up pretty easily without even having to get a special Zoom app or log into Zoom or anything like that. You can just stream it to them and let them see it straight from your website. That's another benefit that's pretty cool. All right. So if there aren't any other questions, you guys have a great rest of the day. Have a great weekend. And I look forward to seeing you next time. I've been Gary B. Jr. and you guys have a great rest of the day. Let me see if I can play my outro for you guys real quick. All right. Here we go. Thank you for watching this video. I really hope it helped you in a major way. Now, at this point, most people would ask you to like and subscribe, and I think that's great, but my goal is a little bit different. My goal is to empower as many people as possible all over the globe. And there's one way that you can really help me do that, and that is to leave a comment below with a question, a thought, how this video may have helped you, or things that were left out that you still have questions about, and to share this video with someone just like you, someone who is looking for answers, someone who's curious and wants to grow. With your help, I believe we can build a community of people that want to grow together. So until next time.